Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977, it's Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for the TNA Event Center report. And now here's the man to give you all the total non-stop action and impactful report, Mr. Eric M. Lima. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Well, good morning once again, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977, episode 2303, ladies and gentlemen. And this is from last night, TNA's Against All Odds 2025 Event Center report. And as you know, and I do apologize on that last video, I forgot to give up my usual go home line. Is please, Mr. Announcer, take us home. So I do apologize for that, but that's okay. Y'all know what's coming up after next, so y'all know I'm doing another video. So this is the video that I'm doing. We're gonna have a little bit of fun here. They had one match though for the countdown to Against All Odds, and that's the six knockouts tag team matchup. It's an all-UK team versus the Elegant Brand, the all-UK team. You got Zaya Brookside and Harley Hudson from England. You got Myla Grace from, I think, Ireland. I think she's from Ireland, and she looks pretty cute. I like Myla Grace. Going up against the Elegance Brand, that is the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Ash and Heather by Elegance. And then you got the newest member, formerly known as Maggie Lee, M by Elegance. The Elegance Brand ends up winning the matchup with George Iceman. Says they're the most attractive group. They're better than anybody else. But they were interrupted by the returning Inspiration, formerly known as the Iconics. That's right. Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee make their return for 3 years, and during those 3 years, they were busy being moms, as you know, and they came back looking gorgeous ever. You got the lovely Harley Cameron singing their theme song in the background. As you know, Harley Cameron, I'll tell you one thing, man. I don't know what it is about me and Australian women as of late, I'm starting to find Rhea Ripley more attractive now. It's between Toni Storm and Harley Cameron, even the Inspiration is, so the Inspiration, everybody's happy to see them. It seems like if they're going to get back to their in-ring action, I'm sure those Knockouts tag team titles will be in serious jeopardy, and possibly the Inspiration, or as I like to call them, if they decide to ever cross back into NXT, the Iconic Inspiration. That's right. Great to see those ladies back and doing the thing. Meanwhile, Tasha Steelz was talking to Jason Hotch, and Ali and John Skyler said, Mustafa Ali got some orders. John Skyler, you on your commentary, and Tasha, you're going to be in my corner. And then Tasha Steelz makes a call. Who is she talking to? Who is the person that she's talking to? We'll have to find out. Steph DeLander interrupts Hannafin and Ray Wall as they were going to talk about the Santino Marella-Robert Stone matchup, and Steph DeLander declares that her man will walk out as TNA International Champion. And Santino Marella and Ariana Grace addresses the Tempe, Arizona crowd, and Robert Stone, Victoria Crawford, and Tessa Blanchard interrupts them, and then Matt Cardona comes out and says, you know what? I'm going to be the special guest referee for that matchup. Both companies screwed me. I'm calling it down the middle. I was like, okay, well, what's in it for Matt Cardona? That's what I want to know. And so when it kicked off, Against All Odds kicked off with the International Title Alliance, Steve Macklin against Mance Warner. What a battle that was, and Macklin does retain. Meanwhile, Gia Miller interviewed Elijah about the title match between him and Trick Williams. Meanwhile, the System, that's the team of X-Division champ Moose, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and JDC with Alicia Edwards in the court against the Hardys, Leon Slater and a partner, and their partner is the masked hometown man. That's what they call him. And but everybody in the System said that's Cody Deaner. I wonder if Cody Deaner did secretly sign a contract with TNA and decided to use his gimmick as, something to go by. So, I don't know. We'll find out momentarily. We'll find out eventually. Jason Hotch went one-on-one with Mustafa Ali as John Scott joins on commentary. Ali did end up winning the matchup, but Tasha Steelz is getting sick and tired of the whole thing. She walks out during the matchup. So Gia Miller interviewed the Inspiration, and they taken exception to what the Elegance brand had to say. So George Eisman, the personal concierge, has ran his mouth for far too long, in my personal opinion. And I'm sure the Inspiration wants to come back to prove to them who is the best women's tag team right now, and out in TNA right now, and it has to be the Inspiration, the iconic Inspiration. So that's really exciting. And before you say anything, no, Harley Cameron was not in TNA. She helped create their theme song. This is before Harley Cameron was even signed to AEW at that point. I thought she was going to sign with TNA and join forces. Imagine, and Harley Cameron's about as entertaining as the Iconics are. So I think you take a lot to pick up on. Imagine the iconic Inspiration, Harley Cameron. Like I said, it's very difficult for Team Australia. If I had a Survivor Series World Cup for Team Australia, it's going to be difficult for me. Because who do you put there, and who do you have an alternative? Right now, I'm picking the Inspiration, Tony Storm, Harley Cameron, and Rhea Ripley. You get Indy Hartwell, okay? Could be a backup. And Tennille Dashwood, who recently became American citizen. Congratulations to her, by the way. She's originally from Australia. She could end up an alternative as well, but she is being a mom, which is going to be super cool. Anyways, so the Inspiration, they probably want to get back in the ring and get those Knockouts tag team titles back. Meanwhile, the First Class Penthouse, AJ Francis and Casey Navarro addresses the Tempe crowd, and Mike Santana. And they have become public enemy number one because they helped Trick Williams retain the TNA World title this past Tuesday night on NXT. Believe me. And by the way, AJ Francis, they had to end Viv for me. If you don't really get the joke, you don't get the joke. AJ Francis, who's been dissing people because they're poor. He borrows of a Nintendo Switch too, and he said, y'all are poor. Well, being smart, dude. In fact, I might be considering getting a separate envelope and start putting money on the side to get the Nintendo Switch too. I might consider it. I might consider that. Although when the Nintendo Switch, the original Nintendo Switch came out in 2017, I waited a whole year to get mine. So I decided to wait a whole year to get mine. Like when the price goes down and stuff, Anyways, they started making fun of Mike Santana. Mike Santana actually ended up coming to the arena, and then he came through the crowd, fights off security, and then puts Navarro to a table, and then AJ Francis hit Santana with a champagne bottle from behind. Meanwhile, the Knockouts title was on the line. Masha Slamovich against Li Ying Lee. And Indy Hartwell was joining on commentary. And heck of a match between these two ladies. And Slamovich ended up retaining the title. But another return to the Knockouts division. You see, the Knockouts division is going to get stacked more and more. As Killer Kelly made her return to with her chain and gives it to Slamovich. Is she issuing a challenge to Masha Slamovich? Remember, this is all their feud. That's what started the formation of MK Ultra. So the women's division in the Knockouts division in TNA is getting stacked. Indy Hartwell's there. You got Daniel Luna, Jody Threat. You got Tasha Steelz, Alicia Edwards. You got the Inspiration has made their return. You got the six ladies that fought. You got the three ladies, the UK connection. You got Rosemary, who is out after suffering an injury at the Monsters Ball matchup this past Thursday. And so Dr. Asa Andrews, the doctor for TNA, tried to check on Santino. Santino walks away, says, I'm good. And then Joe Hendry took on Frankie Kazarian. And Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian went one-on-one. Heck of a matchup. Kazarian did win in the end. Gia Miller did interview Kazarian. After the matchup, I don't appreciate Kazarian calling Gia Miller a dummy. That's not cool. That's not cool. And you're lucky that Ace Austin is not around because Ace Austin would have clocked you one, Frankie Kazarian. Meanwhile, Robert Stone talks to Cardona and decides to bribe more money. What is Robert Stone thinking? Man. Robert Stone probably is the type of guy that jumps to a pool and pees in it, for goodness sakes. Anyways, Mike Cardona just took the money. Is he trying to screw Santino? Or is Matt Cardona suckering Robert Stone? Tag team titles were on the line as the Nemesis against the Rascals. And the Nemitz ended up retaining the title against the Rascals at that point. Joey's regular promo on the merchandise, but was on the TNA merchandise was interrupted by Eric Young, and Eric Young was upset. He was not happy, and it looks like because of the attack on the fan, he's under investigation. And then Sami Callihan decides to set Young straight. Who would thought that Sami Callihan would be the voice of reason with Eric Young? And then the matchup everybody's been waiting for, the Director of Authority matchup, where the winner becomes Director of Authority of TNA, and Matt Cardona is special guest referee. Santino Morel, accompanied by his lovely daughter Ariana Grace, and with Robert Stone, accompanied by Victoria Crawford and Tessa Blanchard. I just realized something. Ladies and gentlemen, I just realized something, and remember the time when, during the time in the WWE, Alicia Fox was stalking Tom Phillips? They're both now in TNA. I just realized this. Tom Hennepin, you're in trouble, my friend. You better file a restraining order on Victoria Crawford. you better think about. You remember when Alicia Fox, she was like crazy. She thinks that she acts crazy having a crush on Tom Phillips. When you, I feel bad for Tom Hennepin at this point. Young boy Tom. Anyways, I just realized that. So, anyways, Cardona was checking Robert Stone before the matchup. Finds brass knuckles. What? And then the matchup went underway, and then Santino Morello tried to bust out the Cobra. Tessa Blanchard snatched it and ran off to the back with it. I'm like a little kid. I'm like, what's that? And then Victoria Crawford gets involved, attacking Victoria Crawford attacking Santino Marella, trying to do everything he can. Ariana Grace gets involved, shoving Robert Stone on the turnbuckles and all that. But then when Santino Marella, was lost without a Cobra, but Ariana Grace kind of had a feeling something like this was going to happen. She brought up a backup Cobra. She got Santino where? Boom, 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 and hits the Cobra. And ladies and gentlemen, Santino Marella is officially still your Director of Authority. Robert Stone, go back to NXT and whine to Ava. And in fact, don't try to harass Stevie Turner for her job. That's all I'm going to say. But then Gina Miller interviews Santino Marella after the match, and Santino Marella says, thank you all, and he'll continue to help TNA grow. And that's a really cool thing. So that means Ariana Grace keeps her job as liaison for TNA and NXT, which I think is pretty cool. TNA World Title on the line. Trick Williams defending it against Elijah, as some of the members of the TNA roster decided to watch the matchup with Joe Hendry, the former champ. And AJ Francis shows up at ringside, gets involved, and Trick Williams retains the title. AJ Francis, an Uncle Phil wannabe. My goodness. Once again, why don't you go back to voice Shredder of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Or harass Will Smith, or better yet, trot Jazz out of your house. Uncle Phil wannabe. AJ Francis has become public enemy number one. Somebody needs to ban First Class from ringside. Oh man. But anyways, unfortunately, Trick Williams ends up retaining the title. Who knows what's going to happen on the next episode? So this coming Thursday will be the fallout from TNA. Well, that is all for this episode. As you know, I usually don't do a video on Sundays because we at church, we get family over and whatnot. So, but Worlds Collide Event Center, Money in the Bank Event Center. Those are the two videos coming up next. I'll be live reacting with my friends on both events. Can't wait for that. So, that is all the time for today's episode, folks. And for today's episode, next episode will be the Worlds Collide Event Center report and the Money in the Bank. And I'm going to do both events. And I don't know what the decision of Brandon was. I'm going to do both events, combine them into one stream. That'll be a long stream. Or two separate streams. We'll find out for sure. I'll find out. So, But until the next episode comes rolling around, though, Mr. Announcer, take us home. That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and do it for Bob Saget production, and in association with a Raving Bull for 3000 Telepictures and Distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.